best. It's the best.
Some of the statements that that's out on their website, that some stuff that you made clear and known on TV. Do you regret any of your actions, participation when you were the leader of the Weatherman, and do you regret any statements you have made over the past?
Well, look, you can't get to be 67 years old and not have a lot of regrets. I mean, you're a young man and you have regrets.
Right.
Everybody has regrets. So this narrative that gets spun out that I have no regrets is nonsense. It's not true. The other thing is, if you take anybody, you take the Black Panthers, take Malcolm X, take Martin Luther King, if you take anybody's statement and you hold it up to scrutiny and you say, gosh, this guy said that, sure, there's a lot of things you could say better that you said inarticulately, you said stupidly. And sure, I'm willing to examine anything like that and take a look at it and criticize it and even apologize for stuff. But here's the problem. When people say, do you regret, what they mean is, do you regret the militant actions you took against the war in Vietnam? And my response to that is not at all. Right. I don't think I did enough. Why do I think I didn't do enough? Because the American people, the American war in Vietnam started in 1965. By 1968, a majority opposed it. We could not end that war. Every week, listen to this, Mike, every week that war went on, 6,000 innocent people were killed every week for 10 years.
Right.
We couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop it. The people who joined the left wing of the Democratic Party couldn't stop it. The people who tried to organize the industrial working class couldn't stop it. The people who ran to the communes of Vermont or ran to Europe couldn't stop it. So I regret that we didn't stop it. So when people say to me, do you regret that? The answer is no. In fact, the people who should be asked, do you have regrets, are people like John McCain. John McCain was a war criminal. He dropped bombs on civilians. He dropped bombs on cities. John Kerry, who ran for president, and won the Congressional Medal of Honor and so on. John Kerry said, the thing to remember about Vietnam, he said this when he was a 23-year-old coming back from Vietnam. He said, we committed war crimes every day, not as a matter of choice, but as a matter of policy. Let's remember that. War crimes were being committed every day for 10 years. 6,000 people a week were being murdered. And I'm asked to account for a little property damage while these war criminals are not asked to step up and take their responsibility. So I've often said, and I'll say it again, what we need is a Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
Okay.
Everybody over the age of about 55 ought to stand on a stage, admit what they did, and take responsibility for it. I'll do that if I can stand next to Henry Kissinger, if I can stand next to John McCain and John Kerry and Bob Kerry, absolutely. And in this company, what I did is it's very much on the right side, but it's also very minor compared to what they did.
Right. And a lot of people have regrets, and sometimes they say regrets leads to secrets. So I'm sure it'll be hard for you to stand next to some of those people because they don't want to let some of their regrets or secrets out of the bag. But
I mean, it's well known that Henry Kissinger is responsible for the murder of hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people. That's well known, and yet he gets called up and asked to be a graybeard, a kind of a wise man talking about foreign policy. That's an atrocity to me.
Right.
That to me is ridiculous.
A quick question: if Barack Obama wasn't elected to the White House, and this is just a question up in the air, would you feel personal kind of regret or kind of feel like it was maybe your fault that if he wasn't elected to the White House just because of the association of you and him, or what the media has played on both of you guys? Or would you say?
Well, again, I wouldn't blame it so much on the media as I'd blame it on McCain, Palin. I'd blame it on Clinton. But the fact is that I didn't do anything wrong in that situation. What I did is I was a public citizen in Chicago. I was a neighbor of Barack Obama's. We worked together on a couple of things. There's nothing wrong with that. I didn't commit any crimes. I didn't do anything wrong. And so anybody who made that an issue was playing to the most stupid kind of base politics of guilt by association. They are the ones who should be sorry. But then I look at other. The other thing is, I'm not a big believer that electoral politics is how we change things. I don't really think so. I rarely am involved in electoral politics, almost never. And when people say to me, I wish Barack Obama would do this, or I wish Barack Obama would do that, my response to that is always, what have you done?
Right.
I mean, if you want Barack Obama to bring peace, what did you do this morning to help build a peace movement that's irresistible and unstoppable? And then I remind people that Lyndon Johnson, who passed the most far-reaching civil rights legislation since Reconstruction, was not part of the Black Freedom Movement. And Franklin Roosevelt was not part of the labor movement. And let's remember this, Abraham Lincoln never belonged to an abolitionist party. Those events happen because of movements on the ground. We spend way too much time worrying about the power we can't have access to, the White House, the Congress, Wall Street, and the Pentagon, and too little time worrying about the power we do have access to. The classroom, the neighborhood, the workplace, the farm. These are the things where we should be active in our own neighborhoods, in our own streets, with our own students, with our colleagues. This is where we should be active because this is where we can make a difference.